Dad perfect events. They left my wife at an adult daycare for 8 hours, so I made them pay 10 times more. The phone call came at 6:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Mr. Barnes, this is Dorothy from Golden Years Adult Day Center. Your wife Beverly is still here. We close at 6 o'clock and no one has come to pick her up. My name is Howard Barnes. I'm 55 years old and I'm a retired prosecutor. My heart stopped. Beverly wasn't supposed to be at Golden Years. She was supposed to be having dinner with our daughter Patricia and son-in-law Victor at their house. There must be some mistake, I said, already grabbing my car keys. My daughter picked her up this morning for a family visit. Sir, your daughter dropped her off here at 10 a.m. She said you'd arranged it and would pick up your wife before closing. Your wife has been asking for you all day. The 20-minute drive to Golden Years felt like hours. I kept thinking about Beverly's excitement that morning when Patricia called. She'd put on her best dress, the blue one with the small flowers that she'd worn to our anniversary dinner last year. She'd been so happy to spend time with Patricia and the grandkids. Beverly was sitting alone in the lobby when I arrived, still wearing that dress but looking small and confused in the big empty room. The fluorescent lights made everything harsh and institutional. A young woman, Dorothy I assumed, hovered nearby with obvious concern. Howard! Beverly's face lit up when she saw me, but there was confusion there too. Where is everyone? Patricia said she was coming back. She said we were going to have a nice dinner. I helped her to the car, my prosecutor's mind already cataloging facts. Patricia had lied to Beverly about a family lunch. She'd abandoned her own mother with early-stage Alzheimer's at a daycare center for 8 hours. The question wasn't what happened, it was why. During the drive home, Beverly kept asking where Patricia was. Did I do something wrong? Why didn't she come back for me? You didn't do anything wrong, I told her, but my jaw was clenched so tight my teeth hurt. We'll figure this out. That night, I called Patricia's house. No answer. I tried her cell phone. Straight to voicemail. I tried Victor's number. Same thing. I didn't sleep much. By morning, I was running scenarios in my head like I used to do before major prosecutions. What was Patricia's angle? What did she want? In 30 years as a prosecutor, I'd learned that people don't abandon their responsibilities without a reason, usually a selfish one. The answer came Friday morning. Patricia showed up at my front door at 9 a.m. sharp, carrying a manila folder and wearing that fake concerned expression I'd seen on criminals for 3 decades. Victor lurked behind her, all handshakes and forced smiles. Dad, we need to talk about Mom's condition, Patricia said, settling onto my couch like she owned the place. She's getting worse. The other day at our house, she got confused and wandered outside. We found her 2 blocks away, completely lost. I knew she was lying. Beverly hadn't left our house in weeks except with me. Her condition was mild. She had good days and bad days, but she wasn't wandering anywhere. That's strange, I said carefully. She seems fine when she's with me. Victor jumped in, smooth as oil. Howard, sometimes family members are the last to notice these things. We've been researching care options, and there are some excellent facilities that specialize in memory care. He opened the manila folder with practice deficiency, and we found something that might help with the financial burden. Power of attorney documents, healthcare directives, asset management agreements, all professionally prepared, all designed to look legitimate. This is just standard paperwork, Patricia said, her voice dripping with rehearsed sincerity. It ensures Mom gets the best care possible while protecting the family assets. We just need you both to sign here and here. I'd reviewed thousands of legal documents in my career. These weren't standard anything. They gave Patricia and Victor complete control over Beverly's medical care, our house, our savings, everything we'd built in 33 years of marriage. The language was sophisticated. Whoever drafted these knew exactly what they were doing. I'll need time to review these with my attorney, I said. Patricia's mask slipped for just a second. Her eyes went cold before the fake concern returned. Dad, don't you trust us? We're family. We're just trying to help. Victor's smile got tighter. The facility has a waiting list, Howard. If we want to secure Beverly's spot, we need to move quickly. These opportunities don't last long. I stood up slowly, using the movement to create distance between us. I said, I need time. They exchanged a look. Quick, but I caught it. They'd expected me to sign immediately. This wasn't going according to their plan. After they left, I sat in my kitchen and really looked at those documents. The facility they mentioned, Sunrise Manor, was real. I looked it up while they were talking. Cost $8,500 per month. Our house was worth about $680,000. Our savings account had $347,000. Do the math. They weren't planning to put Beverly in a care facility. They were planning to take everything and disappear. That night, I called Leonard Walsh, my old partner from the prosecutor's office. He'd specialized in white-collar crime before going into private practice. "Howard, these documents are sophisticated," Leonard said after I faxed him copies. "Someone paid good money to have these drafted. But they're essentially a complete asset grab disguised as care planning. What's my next move? Document everything. Every interaction, every phone call, every lie they tell. If they're planning what I think they're planning, you're going to need evidence. And Howard, start carrying a recorder. You remember how valuable audio evidence can be?" I did remember. I'd used recorded confessions to put away dozens of criminals. The next morning, I bought a small digital recorder from Radio Shack. Old prosecutor habits were about to serve me well. The recording device became my constant companion. Within a week, I got exactly what I needed. Patricia called Tuesday morning, her voice different now, harder, more demanding than the fake sweetness from before. "Dad, we've been patient, but Mom needs professional care. If you won't sign the papers voluntarily, we'll have to pursue other options." I activated the recorder. What other options? Guardianship? Proceedings? We can petition the court to declare you both incompetent to manage your affairs. With Mom's condition and your age, it won't be difficult to convince a judge. There it was. The threat I'd been expecting, captured in perfect digital clarity. "You'd really do that to your own father? We're thinking of Mom's safety, Dad. And honestly, you're 55 and showing signs of poor judgment yourself. Maybe you need protection too." The line went dead. I immediately transferred the audio file to my computer, labeled it with date and time, and saved 3 backup copies. In the prosecutor's office, we used to say that evidence without backup copies was evidence waiting to disappear. But I wasn't done gathering ammunition. The next day, I called Dr. Margaret Foster, our family physician for 15 years. "Margaret, I need Beverly examined thoroughly. I think someone may have hurt her." Dr. Foster had seen enough elder abuse cases to recognize the signs. During Beverly's examination, she was methodical and gentle. "Howard, I need to document everything I see," she said, pulling on latex gloves. "These bruises on Beverly's arms, when did you first notice them?" I looked closer at my wife's upper arms, dark finger-shaped marks I somehow hadn't seen before, purple and yellow at the edges. Someone had gripped her hard. She didn't have those last week. Patricia picked her up for lunch yesterday. Dr. Foster photographed the bruises from multiple angles, used a medical ruler for scale, measured each mark precisely. Her documentation was clinical and thorough. "Beverly, can you tell me how you got these marks?" My wife looked confused, then frightened. "I don't remember. Someone was angry. Someone grabbed me when I wouldn't do something they wanted." "Who grabbed you, honey? I don't know. It's fuzzy." Dr. Foster made notes, took more photos. "Howard, I'm required by law to report suspected elder abuse. These injuries are consistent with forceful gripping by an adult. Do what you have to do." That afternoon, Patricia called again. This time she was screaming. "How could you call Adult Protective Services on your own daughter? They're investigating us like we're criminals." I had the recorder ready. "Are you criminals, Patricia? We were trying to help. But we're done now. Don't expect any more family visits. Don't expect us to care when Mom ends up in some state facility because you're too stubborn to accept help." She hung up. 10 minutes later, Victor called back. His voice was different, low, controlled, menacing. "You made a big mistake, old man. You think you're still a hotshot prosecutor, but you're just a washed-up senior citizen now. We'll get what we're owed, one way or another." Click. Dial tone. Another perfect recording, saved and backed up. Over the next 3 weeks, I built my case like I was preparing for the trial of my career. Because in many ways, I was. I gathered financial records proving Beverly and I were completely competent to manage our affairs. Bank statements showing regular, reasonable transactions. Investment portfolios properly maintained. Bills paid on time for decades. I arranged comprehensive medical evaluations for both of us. cognitive function tests, psychiatric assessments, physical examinations. The doctor who conducted my cognitive evaluation smiled when I rattled off dates, names, and word lists 20 minutes after hearing them. Your cognitive function is excellent, Mr. Barnes. Better than many people half your age. For the record, there is absolutely no evidence of diminished capacity. Will you put that in writing? Already typing the report. I collected character references from neighbors, friends, our pastor. People who'd known us for years testified in writing to our mental sharpness and responsible behavior. But Patricia and Victor were building their own case. I discovered they'd been methodically calling our neighbors, expressing concerns about my ability to cope with Beverly's condition. They'd contacted our bank, asking about unusual account activity that didn't exist. Mr. Barnes seems overwhelmed, Patricia had told our next-door neighbor, Helen Rodriguez. We're worried he's not making good decisions for mother's care. Helen called to tell me about the conversation. Howard, that girl of yours was asking strange questions. Wanted to know if I'd seen you acting confused or forgetful. I told her you're sharp as a tack, but she kept pushing. They were laying groundwork for their guardianship petition, creating a false narrative of declining mental capacity. It was sophisticated, calculated, and completely dishonest. The petition arrived by certified mail on a Thursday. Patricia Barnes Coleman requesting legal guardianship over Howard Barnes and Beverly Barnes based on advanced age, diminished mental capacity, and inability to manage personal affairs. I read every word twice. They claimed I was showing signs of dementia, that Beverly was being neglected and was in danger, that our finances were in chaos due to my poor judgment. All lies, but sophisticated lies, crafted by someone who understood exactly how the guardianship system worked. Leonard reviewed the petition that afternoon. They hired a good attorney, Howard. These allegations are serious, and they've included supporting statements from a private investigator who claims to have observed concerning incidents at your home. What kind of incidents? Leaving Beverly alone for hours, finding her wandering in the yard, unpaid bills stacked on your kitchen table, classic signs of neglect, all fabricated. I know that, and you know that, but we need to prove it in court. The hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks out. I spent those weeks preparing like I was back in the prosecutor's office, building an airtight case for the most important trial of my life. Because if I lost, Patricia and Victor wouldn't just get our money. They'd get control of Beverly's medical care, our living situation, every decision about our lives. We'd become prisoners in our own existence, dependent on the mercy of people who'd already proven they had none. Judge Albert Martinez had been on the bench for 20 years. I'd appeared in his courtroom dozens of times during my prosecutor days. He was fair, thorough, and didn't tolerate nonsense from either side. The hearing room was smaller than I remembered, but the weight of what was at stake made everything feel enormous. Patricia sat with her attorney at the plaintiff's table, Victor beside her. They'd dressed conservatively, Patricia in a navy suit, Victor in his only decent tie, playing the part of concerned family members. Leonard and I sat at the defense table with our boxes of evidence, medical reports, financial records, character references, and most importantly, the digital recorder containing hours of Patricia and Victor's true intentions. Patricia's attorney went first. Her name was Sharon Mills, and she was good. She painted a picture of elderly parents struggling with diminished capacity, making poor decisions, living in denial about their limitations. Your Honor, the petitioners are not seeking financial gain. They're seeking to protect their beloved parents from the dangers of unmanaged dementia and poor judgment. She called their private investigator to testify, a thin man named Carl Phillips who claimed to have observed concerning incidents at our home. I witnessed Mr. Barnes leaving his wife alone in the yard for over an hour while he went inside, Phillips testified. Mrs. Barnes appeared confused and agitated. She was calling for help, but Mr. Barnes didn't respond. Complete fabrication. I'd never left Beverly alone outside, not for 5 minutes. I also observed unpaid bills stacked on their kitchen table, visible through the window. Utility shut-off notices, overdue medical bills indicating financial mismanagement. Another lie. Our bills were paid automatically through the bank and had been for years. Mills called Patricia to testify next. My daughter took the stand and looked directly at the judge, her voice steady and concerned. Your Honor, I love my parents deeply, but I'm terrified for their safety. Dad has become forgetful, sometimes aggressive when questioned about his decisions. Mother needs specialized care that he can't provide. Can you give specific examples? Mills asked. Last week I found Mother alone at an adult daycare center for 8 hours. Dad had forgotten he'd arranged for her care there. When I asked him about it, he became angry and accused me of lying. The audacity was breathtaking. She was using her own abandonment of Beverly as evidence against me. Mother has bruises on her arms. When I asked Dad about them, he claimed he didn't know how they happened. I'm concerned about potential neglect, or worse. Judge Martinez made notes, his expression unreadable. Then it was Leonard's turn. He started with the medical evidence. Dr. Foster testified about our cognitive evaluations, the comprehensive physical and mental health assessments. Both Mr. and Mrs. Barnes show normal cognitive function for their ages, Dr. Foster said. Mr. Barnes scored in the top 10% of his age group on memory and reasoning tests. There is absolutely no evidence of dementia or diminished capacity. What about Mrs. Barnes's condition? Mrs. Barnes has mild cognitive impairment, but she's lucid most of the time and capable of making her own decisions with appropriate support. Doctor, you examined bruises on Mrs. Barnes's arms. What was your assessment? Dr. Foster's voice was clinical and precise. The bruising pattern was consistent with forceful gripping by an adult. The size and placement of the marks indicated someone grabbed Mrs. Barnes's upper arms and squeezed hard enough to leave significant bruising. In your medical opinion, could these injuries be self-inflicted or accidental? Highly unlikely. These were clearly grip marks from someone else's hands. Leonard called our neighbor, Helen Rodriguez, to testify about Patricia's suspicious questioning, trying to create a narrative of our incompetence where none existed. Then came our bank manager, who testified about our excellent financial management and automatic bill payment systems that had been in place for over a decade. But the moment that ended, everything was when Leonard played the recordings. Your Honor, I'd like to present audio evidence of the petitioner's true motivations. He played Patricia's voice first. We can petition the court to declare you both incompetent to manage your affairs. With Mom's condition and your age, it won't be difficult to convince a judge. Judge Martinez leaned forward, listening intently. Then Victor's threatening call. You think you're still a hotshot prosecutor, but you're just a washed-up senior citizen now. We'll get what we're owed, one way or another. The silence in the courtroom was deafening. Patricia's face had gone white. Victor stared at his hands. Mr. Coleman, Judge Martinez said, his voice ice cold, did you tell Mr. Barnes that you would get what you're owed, one way or another? Victor looked at his attorney, who nodded reluctantly. I was frustrated, Your Honor. I didn't mean anything threatening. And Mrs. Coleman, did you tell your father that petitioning for guardianship wouldn't be difficult given his age? Patricia's voice came out as a whisper. I was concerned about their safety. Judge Martinez reviewed his notes for what felt like an eternity. Then he looked up. I've heard testimony about cognitive evaluations showing normal function, financial records proving competent management, and medical evidence suggesting elder abuse rather than neglect. I've also heard recorded evidence of the petitioners discussing this guardianship as a strategic maneuver rather than a genuine concern for welfare. He paused, letting that sink in. Petition for guardianship is denied. Furthermore, I'm granting the Barnes' motion for a protective order. Mrs. Coleman and Mr. Coleman are to maintain a distance of 100 yards from Mr. and Mrs. Barnes at all times, effective immediately. But I wasn't done with them yet. Through my old contacts in law enforcement, I'd learned something interesting about Victor during the weeks before the hearing. His name had appeared in a case file involving illegal gambling operations. The case was dropped due to lack of evidence, but the connection was noted. I hired a forensic accountant named Theodore Walsh, no relation to Leonard. What Theodore found was devastating. Victor owed $127,000 to various bookmakers and loan sharks. He'd taken out a second mortgage on their house without Patricia's knowledge, forging her signature on the documents, credit cards maxed out and defaulting. A financial disaster that explained everything. Patricia didn't know about any of it, but she was about to. I arranged to accidentally encounter Patricia at the grocery store, where she shopped every Thursday morning. I knew her routine from years of being her father. I stayed exactly 101 yards away, just outside the restraining order limit, but within the same public space. Patricia, I said quietly, stopping at exactly 75 yards distance. I'm not violating the order, but you need to see something. I placed a thick manila folder on a nearby display of oranges, within her reach, but not handed directly to her. No. Physical contact, no coercion. That's information about your real financial situation. What you do with it is your choice. She opened the folder right there in the produce section, her hands shaking slightly. I watched the color drain from her face as she read about Victor's gambling debts, the forged mortgage documents, the credit cards opened in her name without her knowledge. "This is impossible," she whispered, looking up at me with confusion and growing horror. "Check your credit report. Call the mortgage company, call the credit card companies. It's all documented." I walked away before she could respond, heading toward the checkout lanes. In my rearview mirror, I watched her standing there in the produce section, staring at the papers that would destroy her marriage. 3 days later, she called from a friend's phone. "Dad, I need to meet with you. Not at your house because of the restraining order. Tomorrow, City Park, 2 p.m. She was already there when I arrived, sitting at a picnic table with the financial folder open in front of her. Her eyes were red from crying, and she looked like she hadn't slept in days. "I checked everything," she said without preamble. "The mortgage company confirmed Victor forged my signature. The credit card companies have copies of applications I never filled out. We owe money to people I've never heard of. What are you going to do about it?" "I don't know. Linda and Albert keep asking why they can't see their grandparents anymore. And now I find out we're about to lose our house because of debts I didn't even know existed." I sat down across from her, maintaining the legally required distance. "You have 2 choices, Patricia. File for divorce immediately and cooperate with the authorities in prosecuting Victor for fraud, or continue down this path and lose everything, your house, your children's respect, and any chance of eventual reconciliation with us. What about Victor? What about my marriage? Victor is a criminal who manipulated you into betraying your own family. The only question is whether you're going to be his victim or his accomplice going forward." She was quiet for a long time, staring at the financial documents. Finally, she looked up. "If I do what you're suggesting, if I file for divorce and cooperate with prosecution, would there be any chance, any possibility of forgiveness someday? Forgiveness isn't something you earn overnight, but redemption, that's possible if you're willing to do the work." 2 weeks later, Patricia filed for divorce. The papers cited irreconcilable differences and documented financial fraud, requesting full custody of Linda and Albert with supervised visitation only for Victor. Victor's reaction was exactly what I expected. He showed up at my house at midnight, pounding on the door and screaming threats loud enough to wake the neighbors. "Open up, you old bastard. You destroyed my family. You turned my wife against me. I had my camera ready, recording. Everything through the front window." The police arrived within 6 minutes of my call. "Restraining order violation, officers. I have video evidence." Victor spent 48 hours in jail this time. When he got out, he made an even bigger mistake. He broke into the office of Carmen Rodriguez, the notary who had witnessed the legitimate documents Victor claimed supported his various loans. He was looking for records to destroy, evidence to eliminate. But Dorothy's office had security cameras. They captured everything. Victor smashing the back door window, rifling through filing cabinets, searching desperately for documents that could prove his forgeries. He was arrested before he could leave the building. This time, bail was denied. Patricia called me the day after Victor's arrest. "Dad, can we talk?" "Really talk?" We met at the same park bench. This time, Linda and Albert were with her. The kids were 15 and 12 now, old enough to understand that their family was falling apart, but young. Yard work, playing board games with Beverly when her condition allowed. Beverly's Alzheimer's progressed slowly but inevitably. Some days she remembered everything, including what Patricia had done. Other days she just enjoyed having family around, grateful for the company without understanding the complicated history. One Saturday afternoon, I found Patricia crying quietly in my kitchen, while the kids watched TV with Beverly. She asked me why I'd been away so long, Patricia said. She doesn't remember the guardianship attempt or the abandonment. She just missed me. "Maybe that's a gift," I said. "For her, maybe. But I remember every detail. I remember choosing money over family. I remember hurting the woman who raised me." I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. She'd lost weight, had new lines around her eyes, carried herself differently. Smaller, more careful, like someone who'd learned that actions have permanent consequences. People make mistakes, I said finally. The question is what they do afterwards. Beverly passed away peacefully last spring, in her own bed with Patricia and me holding her hands. At the funeral, Patricia spoke about second chances and the long road to redemption. Victor was released from prison last month. He called Patricia once, asking to meet. She hung up without saying a word. Linda and Albert spend every other weekend with me now. We play cards, work in the garden Beverly loved, talk about choices and consequences. They're good kids who learned early that families can break, but also heal, if people are willing to do the hard work. Sometimes Patricia asks if I've forgiven her. I tell her I'm working on it. Forgiveness isn't a destination. It's a daily choice to keep moving forward together. Justice served cold satisfied my prosecutor's instincts. But justice that opens the door to redemption, that's something much more powerful. And sometimes, if you're patient enough and wise enough to know the difference between revenge and restoration, that's exactly what you get. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't destroying your enemies. It's giving them the chance to become better people, even when they don't deserve it. Real strength isn't about how hard you can hit back when betrayed. It's about knowing when justice has been served and choosing wisdom over vengeance for the next generation.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.